people are doing it wrong. He goes, they're trying to digitize their gym. Because they need to digitize their coaching.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Your digital coach is the frame you have to be in.
Good afternoon, guys. This is Eric LeClaire over at Push Press, and this afternoon we are continuing our leadership series in the trenches. And as we are digging through the relationships and knocking on the doors of some of the best coaches that I know personally or that I've had the privilege to work with, I can't go far without running into someone that Tim has either coached, developed, touched, relationship-wise, professional from a professional standpoint or from an athletic standpoint. And so I was just absolutely thrilled when I reached out to Tim and said, hey man, if you got 30 minutes, I'd love to just reach out and ask a couple of questions. I think he responded in about 2 seconds and was like, yes, let's do this thing. So for those of you that are watching that may not know Tim Thackeray and the word juice and how it's developed and what it stood for and so on, Tim, if you could introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm Tim Thackeray. I own the Juice Athlete Compound. We're a remote coaching company working with individuals and gyms all around the world. We've grown from when it was a little side project at our gym back from before we sold in 2015 at CrossFit High Voltage out in Burbank, which is still up and standing, which is always awesome to see. It makes me proud. There, that just like everything else that's good, you help someone, and then the next person goes, well, Eric, they said you helped him. Can you help me? And you go, yeah, I can help you. And well, then can you help my gym now? And you go, I think I'll try my best. And then all of a sudden now it got to the point where I had to sell the gym, and we went full on working with people on every continent except for Antarctica. I'm looking for still. We've had, in the last 5 years, 3 Olympians from different continents, one of which I've never even met or trained in person. I didn't even get to meet her in Rio. Yeah, it was really cool. And so I love some of those challenges in this. And then, CrossFit Games athletes, like unfortunately, we got Dusty Highland back to the games, and then they just canceled the age group stuff. So we have kind of top of the spear, and then you have the everyday people that, just like every gym, everyone thinks that they sign up, oh, I'm not competitive. And you go, that's just what you see, right? Checking your food and going for walks and getting sunshine isn't the most attractive thing on social media all the times, right? But then that's the majority of what we do. So we have our hands full with that, kids fitness programming and licensing.
I love it. And we've grown up together in some circles. Our circles have overlapped. Our friendships have overlapped. Our coaching roles have overlapped. I've got to see High Voltage grow. Like you said, you had a chance to groom a professional to transition and take that.
Yes.
5 years ago, you transitioned online, which meant today, this pandemic may have affected you a little bit. For some people that were remote online completely, it didn't affect them at all. But we'll get to some decision making there, down the road. But I think some people may not know prior to the phrase or prior to the facility CrossFit High Voltage, how did you stumble into athletics? Because I don't think it was exercise or like sport of exercise.
I wanted to be an Olympian in the sport of Taekwondo. My parents owned a martial arts school. When I was a teenager, we opened one up because I wasn't very good at fighting, but we all did martial arts, and I got the bug, the 2000 Olympics to be the first year that it was an official sport.
Right.
I was 2021, and I thought, I want to do this, and I kind of stunk. Like I literally lost, I wrestled in high school, I played other sports. I lost every fight for 2 years straight from 15 to 17. Like first round, not the finals, not like a first fight of the day, you're out and you're like going home at 9:05 a.m. type thing. And so what I did was I quit high school and I moved away to Los Angeles to find a team with a coach that knew what they were doing. My coach was a former U.S. national team member, and just started at like 17 trying to put in reps along the way. And really so many good things have come from that time, but it was scary. Like, I think about stuff now, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but that was pretty scary. I didn't have any trail that showed me, oh, well, you're getting kind of close, Tim. It's like, no, you should stay in school and become like an accountant or something. Just don't, whatever you do, don't quit. So I did that. I made the national team eventually. It took me 4 times at the senior national championships to even get on the podium. I ended up winning. And then I made the national team every year after that for the next 8 years. So once I kind of caught on, I kind of got it. And a lot of the things I've done were like that.
Sharing with me, who was the coach who was the team that you, or I'm sorry, what was the name of the coach you joined?
Yeah, my coach, Scott Fuji, who actually has a strength and conditioning center in Chatsworth. It's a private facility. He's worked, like one of his athletes, I think, was a 110 meter Olympic gold medalist in 2016. So he's a just incredible coach, incredible impact on my life there. But he was on the national team, and to help train us better, he had to start to learn all the parts outside of Taekwondo of how do we get faster? How do we get more mobile? These things kind of led to what I'm doing now. I feel like are extensions of that. So I started training. That went its way, and I was in graduate school at UCLA for political science. Not anything sport related. I was done. I was like, I'm done with sports. I just want, what's the opposite of sports? Political science.
Right.
Nerd Fest 101. Right. And, but to get into graduate school, you have to get, some sort of a fellowship. And I said, I don't want a fellowship. I'll make my own money. So I started training kids in my driveway. Right. And in Lake Balboa near Van Nuys. And then the same thing. One kid came, they did better. Another couple kids came, and now we had 20 kids in my driveway. And I was going to lose them in the winter. And I had the idea, because we always call it owner's math, that every client does this. They go, Eric, you have 100 members and you have charged $200. That means you have $20,000 in your pocket right now. And you're like, it doesn't look like that. Like I'm probably broke. Yeah, but we did that. And I'm going, if I can get 10 more people to do this, then I'll be able to like fund this stuff, and I can go to school, become a professor. I was doing CrossFit. We were mostly going to be a martial arts school. I was doing CrossFit at a 24-hour fitness in Sherman Oaks with a woman at the time that no one knew named Kristen Clever. Ends up, and I told my wife, I go, babe, I met this woman and she knows more about strength and conditioning training than about anyone I've ever met. And just went on, hey, do you want to coach? She ends up obviously winning the CrossFit Games, became a full-time, athlete there. But that was kind of how we ended up getting into opening the gym. It was going to be a little both. And then CrossFit took off.
What years were that for the folks that are listening? I mean, because a significant percentage of the population, at least in the push press gym era, we're sitting at 2020, and folks have opened their gym maybe only in the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So they might only go back to 2015. Sure, there are some gyms that have been around since we began, but what years are you talking about?
Yeah, this is probably 2007, 2008 would be I started doing CrossFit training in the basement of 24 in Sherman Oaks. There and with Chris and just with whoever else, the kind of unspoken code of stuff. Like one night, Becca Voigt was in there. It had to be 07 after one of her surgeries, and she's on there. I hear her yell across the room. I was doing like Nasty Girls on the pull-up bar that you could it was segmented so you could pull your face through on a muscle up. Right? It was all messed up. And she was here, go lower on your squats. And I'm like, what? Who? Like, first of all, you're probably right.
I love it. Dude, the stories, it's so funny. So to that point, you literally named two people. One, I got to give Becca a hard time because I wanted to get her on In the Trenches. And two, since you just said Nasty Girls, I'm interviewing Annie on Friday. So
the ones that inspired us to do, like how many times we've seen that old grainy video.
It's been so fun to connect with all these folks. I mean, whether we're talking relationships from the early 2000s, coaching relationships, business ownership relationships. I mean, it's been so fun, but at the same time, like to see who you were in 2005, who you are now in 2020, right? So what have you done? It's been amazing personally for me to watch you in particular, because you were so close, but yet Burbank is just over the hill from us. So, it wasn't as though we were competitors in the same neighborhood. It was interesting because as CrossFits went from one and then another, and then you had 15 that filled in the middle, it's become almost the wild, wild west.
It absolutely was, and especially at that time that we were two of the older. You were obviously one of the very oldest in Los Angeles, and we came and opened up in 2008. We were on the older side, but not the oldest. It was, I was talking to Mike Latch yesterday, Annie Petronic, were three of the OGs that always inspired me. I said, okay, it can be done. It can be done. Let's come in and do it right. That then we grew, and then from there was a time where really everything those next 2 years
just totally spread. I mean, this is, like I said, I miss Mike. Dude, we just interviewed Andy last week. Dude, this is good. It's so fun. I'll go from there. So let me ask you, I mean, because today you are literally still in the trenches, and whether it's the remote trenches or the face-to-face human interaction, like developing clients, movement patterns, mobility, like all those things, it's a different world being online than it is going to the gym, rolling up the door, meeting and greeting and grooming and so on. How, if any, because some folks have said absolutely not, but the relationships you created with your coaches, the ones that help hone you, were you able to extrapolate or pull some of those lessons to make you, instead of become Tim the athlete, now Tim the coach, who's responsible for the care, the well-being, and the development for others? Any principles that have slid through that you hold as like your foundation?
Yeah, there are a couple big ones for me. I remember the night that I went and talked to my coach Scott in Chatsworth, and I told him, "Hey, I'm done. I'm going to open a gym, and I'm done." And he said, "Good." First, he said, "I think you solved kind of what you wanted to accomplish in fighting, like that interpersonal thing. That there's the podium, that stuff, and then there's the internal part of
right,
trying to kind of prove to ourselves who we are and what we're capable of." And that was meaningful to me. And then he goes, "You're going to like coaching and running a business because it's the same." He goes, "It's competitive. You're going to see it as a competition of how much can you care for your people? How much can you provide for your members?" And that's the new competition, but it stems from that same place. So I've always kind of tried to view the way I do stuff as far as running a business, working with staff, any of that stuff, to try and, I know that's one of the best parts of me is when I'm competitive, things are on and I can push really hard, like a lot of people. So I try not to see it now that I'm outside of the bubble, like, "Oh, you should go coach a class and you should go do a workout," these external things that I'm still trike. Okay, you think your programming is good. I'm going to make sure this programming for this client is incredible. And
right,
I want to try and rise to that occasion some. So that was a big principle for me, trying to not get passive. The programming is good. It's good enough. Well,
right.
That
right.
was any of my coaches brought for me. Bob Takano was a weightlifting mentor and coach for me for a long time. And he never just wrote it down, was like, "I'm very busy. Here's what you can just get by with this today. And hopefully it adds up."
Right.
No one did that to me. So it felt like to do that to anyone else was, really sacrilegious almost.
Agreed. No, completely agreed. I mean, that was probably just a personal reflection on looking at developing coaches and watching coaches move through their own kind of process. That phrase, "good enough never is," it broke my heart to watch other coaches just half step and, get by. And you just look and go, what? Why are you even doing this? Why try? Why you're giving this much effort?
Yeah.
And sometimes the client recognizes, or the team recognizes, but oftentimes clients are so new, they don't necessarily know yet, but and you're like, "I'm not going to do that."
Right. No, they don't know. And they're not the expert. They're not the person. That's why they're hiring you. You're the expert. You're supposed to be the leader. Right. And so then you go and you give them this thing. And it's like, you can make a lot more money doing a lot of other stuff. And there's a lot easier ways to do it than running a micro gym or a remote coaching platform. You see it all the time. People saying, I'm opening up my remote coaching thing. I've got 3 spots in. It's like, no, what I need is 3 people to pay me $200 is what you're saying right now. I get it. I've been there, right?
Yeah.
With it, but that's what it is. So if you're going to do that, then do a really good job. If you just need to make $500, you could do it a lot of other ways, a lot easier, I think. To make an impact, that's not the same. Like, to make an impact, this platform, this approach, it's like the sky's the limit.
Right. Totally different than the brick and mortar. So let me ask you that question. So you're able to extrapolate some principles and pull them into the brick and mortar. How have you transitioned or grown now that it's remote only? So has experience improved? Like, walk me through that. Like, have you had to change anything else?
Yeah, a few parts, especially so I have my remote coaching side of it, and then I also do programming for facilities. And this is where I think that insight from being in brick and mortar, training staffs, being on a shoestring budget, every month trying to make sure, even when things were good, that there's no guarantee, like there's no box of money waiting for you for next year. It's going to go away if you don't keep bringing the heat. So for facility programming, what I did at first, and it didn't work, and I had to notice it didn't work was trying to write every gym their perfect program. I go, okay, well, Eric's got 6 chains here on the thing. I can use program for 6 chains there.
Yep.
And what happened was now the staff couldn't communicate that to the members. So I'd write it perfect, but it was like the Matrix when the letters were falling down and
Yep.
no one knew how to read it at first. But once you did, you could see the fight scenes and you could see everything if you knew what you were watching. So I realized that it wasn't about adding all the bells and whistles onto the programming. It had to be right. It had to be correct. But I needed to spend more time on coaching development. And that's where most of the gyms I see are in one of the biggest holes there. And I talk to you, Jim, and do you do coaching development monthly? Oh, we really want to.
Yeah,
right?
we just don't have time for it, or we haven't.
We can't get everyone in. I can't have everyone meet here. And those are issues of, maybe leadership, of expectations of who's on the bus. There's a lot of things, but at the same time, it's still got to be done. So I started putting all the energy really into communication of what I'm doing to the staff, because that was the issue.
Right.
If the client doesn't like the workout, the coach doesn't go, oh yeah, I didn't explain it right. They go, yeah, Tim sucks, right?
Yep.
Though the guy writing it didn't make any sense to me either. It always goes up to yes.
Yep.
So I had to think, how do I solve it? So that's been the biggest piece. Obviously, doing consulting for a long time helps understand how kind of some of the pieces and numbers have to work for the gym owner. But running the gym and running a big staff, having, and making sure you have all these people that learn different ways, explain things different ways, and then they're explaining that to the members. It's so easy for it to get jumbled.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah. And so how do I do that?
Where did Juice come from? Tell me the story.
The name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started off just as a joke that really and it kind of stuck. I'm really bad at naming. I had a goldfish named Keith growing up. So I had a buddy named Keith, and so I named it Keith. I'm not really good at that. It started off as a joke that the training was going to be so good that people were going to think you were on the juice.
Right. Okay.
Right. So I started to write, here's your juice. We're this is going to be that effective for you. Everyone's going to think you were cheating. And it stuck, and people started using it. And I almost changed it. I came really close to changing it to Athlete America University or something really bland.
Right.
And one of my buddies said, no, don't do it. He goes, tell me who you know. Jim Jones.
Yes.
That's your name. It stands out. You do it. So be weird, and at least people will go, what is this?
They'll just remember. Oh, yeah.
Scrolling by. So it was just something that simple to do it. I thought it was funny, and we never changed it. And here we are.
Man, I dig it. I totally dig it. So I think the biggest chunk of most of the interviews revolve around, particularly for the brick and mortar coaches and affiliate owners, are leadership through this kind of the pandemic, of course. So the people are shutting down. Some states forced to shut down. Other states had a rolling shutdown. Now we're seeing gyms, or some states and some counties, having rolling openings with stringent guidelines, of course. But we talked earlier, weeks back, not just about anticipation, but at the same time is being able to guide yourself, lead your staff, inspire your troops, inspire your community through this, and some of the learnings. So not having high voltage anymore, or not necessarily being in the field, but being online. What did you have to face as the leader of all your clientele that are now distant, because I'm assuming their gym shut down, or maybe their facilities shut down? Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. So with the remote individual side, that's been growing just steadily and been growing through this. Well, for the facility side, that's harder because I know what, they're not oh, I'm a doctor, everything's fine. No, you're a facility owner, you're a gym owner, things are not fine. So one of the biggest things I keep hitting on with everyone, and I'm trying to do it myself to them, both for the reasons of explaining it and then to model my behavior to them of how they can do it for their members, is we have to give people clarity. Without clarity, we can't have confidence. And I keep coming back to those two things. Clarity is confidence. If people are freaking out, well, why are they freaking out? Because we don't know when we're going to open in California, let's say, right? For example.
Yep.
But as soon as they go, hey, phase 1 is this, phase 2, phase 3, well, now we can be pissed we're in phase 3, but at least now we have some sort of idea, okay, phase 2 is easing this week. There's some sort of maybe hope at the end, even though I think we should be obviously opening sooner, but that's besides the point. At first, when it was just this open hold, yeah, everyone is going, is this 6 months? Is it 5 years? I have this amount of money. So then members want to quit.
Right.
So they don't know when they're getting back. They don't know what's going to happen. So I had to come out, and we did this, I think, a week before the shutdown. I started sensing some things like a lot of people were, and we started putting out home programming for everyone. And it looks very different than what the
Of course
look like now, but I just wanted to get in front of them and saying, hey, if you have members, this is all we thought it was going to be. If you have members that didn't want to come in, they were a little uneasy, you can give them this. Because I wanted the owners to go, no, don't be afraid. Here, I got this for you. You're set.
Yep.
And
readily solution.
100%. But you have that. Now they can have some confidence that their training goals are being met.
Right.
That obviously went further with it now being the new normal Zoom classes with additional training and these parts. So we had to change the training for them to now fit how a coach teaches on Zoom, right? Because it's not just the program, it's how the program gets transferred through the medium.
Yep. Oh, man. I mean, think about that. You go from some coaches are still uneasy in a group setting. Now they still have to be on and produce content and like teach and coach. And then now it's through the iPad or it's through the computer or it's through the iPhone. And you have the human reactions immediately to like work off of. Some coaches hit home runs and you're like, dang, this is for you. And some coaches fell flat on their face and they're like,
big time
over here, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it really exposed who has been trying to coach and develop value through their programming, right? Programming is the programming. The value is the coaching connection to the members, the trust that's built. That's the value. So if they weren't in youth marketing, we're a 10,000 square foot facility with all rogue this, well,
so what?
Now. Yeah, who are you? But that was a common thing people said, right? And now it's, right, how much can I help you get from this goal to this goal? And my buddy, John Swanson, who used to run Granite Games, right? He talked to me early and he goes, people are doing it wrong. He goes, they're trying to digitize their gym. He goes, they need to digitize their coaching. Right? But your digital coach is the frame you have to be in. That it's no different. And so again, if you have, you're not your mats, you're not your weights, your values, your coaching, and having been remote for so long, that wasn't an issue for me.
Right.
But I had to lay it on fairly thick with everyone of, no, you're, as much as you love your box, you're not your box. You are a coach. And those are the ones that are really thriving.
That is, it's interesting you bring that up because that's only echoed in a few communities or like, let's say a few cultures within the whole like kind of strength conditioning world. To be in 2020 and to still have gyms saying we are a brick and mortar facility full of stuff and come here because of the stuff.
What stuff?
Everyone's got the stuff, right? And there's only a couple of really good, and I know you know who I'm talking about, that say it's the relationship. It's your ability to deliver authentic, genuine relationships that's going to stand the test of time. And some coaches are like, yeah, whatever. But look, I got this cool thing. And you're like,
yeah, you get there sooner. You think you're at the end, but it's false. You think you got it because people came in and they got attracted to it because they don't know.
Right.
They go, oh, look at all these because they think things are going to solve their problem.
Right.
Things aren't going to solve your problem.
Right. It's me and you that's going to solve the problem.
It's got to be the behaviors and the change, and that only going to happen through coaching. If you remember, we had a quick conversation. It was the 2013 WOD Gear Games back when they were in Pasadena. I was walking by you and we were talking real quick, and I forget how we got to this line, but we're talking about gyms popping up probably and doing this at a time, something we've been noticing for ages. And I said I would love to have a contest that all the gym owners, all you can do is start in a park with no money and no equipment. And let's see who has 200 members now. Let's see. Right. That's the core. That's coaching. It's not how much money your uncle has to loan you. Right.
Yep.
It's that.
Dude, I completely remember that. And we just had that conversation with Jeremy Thiel in Austin because he had proposed a very similar thing for almost like a reality television show.
Yes.
And he was like, I wanted to do LA against New York, against Miami, against, wherever. And capable, resilient, creative, scrappy, but also from a personality standpoint, that's the win. That's totally the
all the parts. And yeah, and being online, it's like I feel like it's the battle of ideas. How good can my ideas be? How much can I communicate them?
right.
I can help them, right? That now, and the people that haven't been there that relied so much. My buddy Dr. Hanuza owns Health Fit in Pasadena. He's a coach at Juice, one of the co-owners. He had a line that they said, too many of their people in their profession are trying to hide behind their hands. Meaning, even for them, yeah, they want to come and adjust people and everything, but at the same time, you can get people out of a sympathetic nervous system state without touching them. If that's what's going to help de-stress them and keep them out of pain, that they're having the same challenge too, and they're having to get to the core of what coaching means for their profession.
Agreed. I mean, this isn't just something that's going to start and stop inside of, conventional gyms. It's affecting physical therapy clinics. It's affecting, across the board, they're realizing, hey, it's just not our stuff or our certificates on the wall, where we went to school or what courses we graduated from. It's this right here. To me,
big time in the question of, you see it in all the forums. Should I charge less? Should I charge anything at all? And it's like, that's how low their perception of value of the core of the services, right?
Right.
And I go, no, I charge more than most people's gyms for my remote coaching, right?
Agreed. No, agree. And that's where you got to be.
I don't mail them bumpers in the mail.
Since we know that there are folks struggling, and since we recognize that there are folks that, what we read it the other day on Zia's page, 47 gyms have closed already in California. To the struggling owners or to the struggling coaches out there, you have a chance now to, sit back on almost 2 decades now worth of good, competent work. What would be a kind of a silver lining statement or any little piece of wisdom they can walk away with today if they're listening in and they're like, man, what he said really helped me? What would you share with them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think first thing is just the mindset factor. And I've had to do this throughout this time so much. I took over, my parents have a brick and mortar martial arts school that I took over on March 15th, right? And we go, okay, this is scary. I took over rent and mortgage and a full-time staff member. So I'm back in brick and mortar also, in addition to everything else. But I have to keep telling myself here of one of the hardest things I've ever been through. And that was when I had quit school and moved away from home, and I was living at times in my car, at times, at a buddy's house behind their couch, not even on their couch, behind the couch.
Right.
Think of how hard that was and how scary it was. And I was 17, I had no money and no resources. I didn't have a credit card. And somehow I made it through that. And then things did well. So I just challenge people to remember a time that you felt like your back was completely against the wall, and somehow you're here. So you made it through that. Somehow you ended up here, and you've got to hold on to that. And so I think about that time probably every couple of days when someone wants to go on hold, or a gym is shutting down. And I go, well, that affects me too. That's part of my income is providing tools for them. That stinks. Okay, get back on. You can't sit and wallow in it. Now you're going to lose more people. So the first one is mindset. The second thing is you've got to get really clear on what your core competency is for keeping your gym alive. And for most people right now, the time is best spent if you were going to spend 1 hour connecting with 5 of your members or 1 hour writing a program. The ROI is in connecting with your members.
Agreed.
An hour of spending time with your coaching staff to go over how their rosters are doing or their Zoom classes, or to give them a tip. The ROI on that is immense. So I think you've got to get super clear on that. Everything else needs to get off your plate. For some of the gym owners, and I've actually had a few that I've gotten to start working with right now through our facility programming, they see that and they're like, I don't have time for this. I thought I liked programming and it was my 15 or 20 hour a month kind of hobby. And there are no 15 or 20 hour a month hobbies right now. It is survival time. It is go time. So they've got to be leaders for their community by executing, not by sitting in the lab of like, you know what, Eric, is it 30x1 or is it 40x1? You know what, I think let's go with, like, right now, the ROI on that is No,
trash.
Yes, they have to have programming that makes sense. It has to work. You have to provide still the stuff for your clients to get into their goals, but the ROI isn't in that. I can't call someone's members for them. They don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from you. They want to hear from the coach. So spend time doing that thing, like as right to the center, and just go after it and let everyone know you're working so hard on it for them. They're going to. Yes.
Man. Probably one of the best that I've heard so far. And I think folks are going to be able to walk away from that with some actionable steps, like get on that phone and make it personable, make it about them, and make it happen every day. Like there's no days off. This isn't a recovery time for the coach. This isn't a vacation time for the coach. It's not days off. It's still work, no matter what.
100%. 100%. It's on it. And people are, we're not perfect. People like people they know. Think about like who are the ones that we tried to, I found out I could get 3 months no car payment. So right away, like, yeah, it's okay. I'll put it 3 months. That'd be, if I don't have to pay it right now, great. But my gym, I know them. I like them. And
right.
I'm sure I could do the same move if I wanted, but I'm sure they'd be like, nah, sure. But no, it's like, I like them. I want to see them win. So getting in front, communicating with your members and making that connection, right? Through clarity gives them confidence and confidence in you. That's going to help keep everyone around, and it's going to hopefully get them in the right frame to see the value of
Yeah, indeed. Man, well, for those guys that have listened today, I want to sincerely thank you for sticking around with us. Tim, if they want to find you, or if they want to, read what you published, or if they want to, check you out, how can they find you?
Absolutely. JuiceCompound.com. You can find all our programs on there. You just go there and get navigated around. Or if you want to follow me personally, it's at Tim Thack on Instagram or at Juice Compound for more of the company, but a lot of that stuff goes both ways. So that's the word. Yes, sir.
Outstanding, man. Well, thank you so much. From those of us here at Push Press, the team for In the Trenches, James and Ashley, they do a lot of our post-production editing. They get it up onto YouTube. I sincerely appreciate your time. I sincerely appreciate how hard you've worked to lead by example, to create the brand, to move the ticker forward for so many athletes that have been put into your care. So thank you for the job that you've done. You've impressed upon a lot of coaches in the area to stand up with a good core set of values. And I love seeing that you can tell the gyms and the coaches and the systems and the processes that come from you. So it's job well done, man. Right on.
It means the world.